नमः सर्वेभ्यः आरभामहे. We were looking at the verse where Arjuna is praising Bhagavan and looking at all the different forms of Vayu, Agni, Yama, Indra, and so on. And he is uncontrollably prostrating before him, saluting again and again because, as Trivikramavarya had told and expressed last class so beautifully, that his heart cannot hold back the awe and joy of beholding such a divine form, equally divining and equally terrorizing too. So now he feels so insignificant that the body's automatic mechanism, the automatic reflex is to fall at, is to, uh, in biological terms, how you fall dead when you see something of greater power, of greater strength than you, how we play dead. That is exactly perhaps the instinct which drove this custom of falling flat before a certain person, recognizing their strength, rage, and mastery over ourselves to be greater. Now, continuing. नमः पुरस्ताद् अथ पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः. नमः पुरस्तात् अथ पृष्ठतः ते नमः अस्तु ते सर्वतः एव सर्व अनंत वीर्य अमित विक्रमः त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततः असि सर्वः. Namaha, continuing with his refrain of salutations, prostrations again and again, namaskaras again and again. Purastat, I bow before you from the front. Purastat, atha prishtatha, and also from the back. So how you circumambulate a certain temple, the reason being, we recognize that there is the sarva vyapitva of the murti. So the murti is not just confined to a small chamber within the temple, the sanctum sanctorum. We recognize that it is holy, but we also recognize that we need to have the darshana, a wholesome, a holistic darshana of the devata in all its aspects, and hence we circumambulate. For the same reason, uh, he is doing namaskara to this Vishwarupa by going once from the forward and then from the back. Purasthat, Prishthatah, Namaha Astute Sarvatah, and I bow to you from all directions. Because you actually, I can't even reduce you to just an orbit, to just a 2D figure. You are to 3D and many more dimensions beyond the third. So from everywhere else, I offer my humble salutations to you. Sarvataha, hey Sarva, you who is everything, Sarvataha eva Sarva, Anantavirya Amitavikramaha Tvam, hey Anantavirya Amitavikramaha, Tvam, you are Amitavikramaha. You have Vikrama, you have power, or your conquest is Amitaha. It's unmeasured or unmeasurable, as in infinite. Your power and glory and your transcendence, Vikrama, is Amita. It's infinite, and you have such strength, which is again infinite, Amita and Ananta. They are synonymous. Ananta Virya, Amita Vikramaha Tvam, Sarvam Samapnoshi. In Sanskritam, we usually use the word Samapnoti to mean to end something. The other meaning is to just occupy or expand. Same as Vyapana. Vyapti, samapti also could mean the same. Sarvam samapnoshi. You end everything. At the same time, you also occupy everything and everywhere. Tataha asi sarvaha. Therefore, you are indeed everything itself. This is the literal meaning. So, all in all, the gist of this is the Vishnutva or the Vyapakatva. You are everywhere. So, salutations to you from all directions. And you who has infinite strength, power, and might can end and finish off everything and can also occupy everywhere at the same time. Namah purastad, purvasyan dishitubhyam. From the east direction, I prostrate to you. Te prishtataha picha te namaha astu. Even from your back, that is paschima. Te sarvataha eva sarvasu dikshu tat sarvatra sthitaya te namaha. हे सर्वा अनन्तवीर्या अमितविक्रमः अनन्तं वीर्यम् अस्य अस्ति इति अनन्तवीर्यः अमितः विक्रमः अस्य अस्ति इति अमितविक्रमः वीर्यम् अर्थात् सामर्थ्यं विक्रम इज पराक्रम his might and feats his adventurous feats पराक्रमः वीर्यवान् अपि कश्चित् शत्रुवधादि विषये न पराक्रमते मन्दपराक्रमो वा वीर्यवान् अपि कश्चित् शत्रुवधा आदि विषये न पराक्रमते. So now he is drawing a distinction between the words parakrama or vikrama and virya. What does virya mean? Virya just here means the vigor, the courage to fight, whereas the parakrama is the actual physical victory. So the Shankaracharya here distinguishes the two terms to mean not only is Bhagavan Viryavan, but also Vikramavan. He not only has the courage to fight and take on anybody and everything, but also Bhagavan remains undisputedly the sole winner in all fights. Shatruvadhadi Vishaye na parakramate manda parakramo va. So a Viryavan can still be a Manda Parakrama, but so is not the case with Bhagavan here. Tvam tu Ananta Viryaha Amita Vikramaha cha iti Ananta Virya Amita Vikramaha. You show depthless courage and boundless victory. Sarvam samastam jagateva samapnoshi samyak ekena atmana vyapnoshi. So here he takes the meaning of vyapti for samapti. You occupy with just one Atma of yours, it is solely you occupy the entire universe itself. Tatas tasmadasi bhavasi sarvaha. So you are the everything. Tvaya vina bhutan na kinchid asti iti abhiprayah. So because you indeed are everything, sarvam brahmamayam jagat, athva sarvam shivamayam jagat, sarvam khalvidam brahma. So all these one must bring to our minds. When he says you are everything, the good, bad, and the ugly, every single thing is God or Bhagavan. Tvaya vina bhutam na kinchid asti. There can never be anything which is without you. Yataha aham twan mahatmya aparijnanad aparadha. And now he continues to say, you are so enormous. And now the grief is striking him, not the grief, rather the remorse, or you could say guilt in a way, a shame or a guilt that he all this while thought of Krishna as a mere little puny human. So now let's see what Arjuna feels about himself and his relationship with Krishna. So he now has realized that you are everything. The person before me is not really actually a person anymore. He is actually not even it. This Ishvara Tattva is all occupying beyond gender, occupying every single atom, creature, and responsible for the phenomena of the universe. If such is the case, how did I even think of this little body that I see, this black body, who is my charioteer now, to be just a friend? सखेति मत्वा प्रसभं यदुक्तं हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति अजानता महिमानन्तवेदं मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि सखा सखा इति मत्वा प्रसभं यद् उक्तं हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखा इति यदुक्तं महिमानं तव अजानता मया इदं प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वा अपि कृतम् इति अर्थः. So long, so far, I have been thinking of you to be just a friend. Sakha. Saha khadati iti sakha. That is one etymology, possible etymology for the word sakha. It is actually a ikaranta pullinga shabda. But in the uh, Sambodhana, it becomes sakha. Sakhi. So I thought of you just as a friend all this while, and I called out to you, hey Sakha, oh friend, and hey Yadava, you who are a descendant of the Yadu Kula, hey Yadava, hey Krishna, I just call you by your name, by your Kula, or by how I relate to you, that is as a friend. And not just calling out, what he here means is that I used to behave with you also in only these three paradigms, that you are just some Krishna, some other human being. You are just some other person who is related to my family because he also comes, he's a distant relative of the Yadukula. So, as a relative, as just another fellow human, or as a Sakha. So, his personal relationship is who has a certain personality, who gives him company, and who he takes advice from, who he gives advice to, who participates in his daily chores, and so on. So these are the only three ways I've ever looked at you, this person before me. And prasabham uktam, and sometimes I've actually used some forceful words, some uh, unpolite or mispolite words to you too. And and what is the reason? Because I did not know of such mahima. I did not know of your greatness before now. Ajanata mahimanam tava idam. So please forgive forgive this mistake of mine, this aparadha of mine, because it sprung out of pramada. Either I was so intoxicated with myself, with my arrogance, or by simple ways of a mistake, or pranaya. Pranaya is love. I may have called out to you as a Sakha, hey Krishna, come here, and so on, out of my closeness, my intimacy with you, or it could have just been my own drunken arrogance, which caused me to do so. So please forgive me for this, is what he shall say in the upcoming verse. Any questions so far? Okay. Sakha samana vayaha, one who is of the same, almost the same age, samana vayaha iti matva iti jnatva viparita buddhya prasabham abhibhuya prasahya, by manners of habit, यत् उक्तं हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखा इति च अजानता अज्ञानिना मूढेन मया किम् अजानता इत्याह महिमानं माहात्म्यम् इदम् ईश्वरस्य विश्वरूपत्वम् इदं माहात्म्यं न दृष्ट्वा एव उक्तम् तव इदं महिमानम् अजानता इति वैयधिकरण्येन सम्बन्धः तव इमम् इति पाठः यदि अस्ति तदा सामानाधिकरण्यम एव. So this is just some semantics he's talking about. In some Patha Vedas, he finds this To be tave, instead of tavedam, it is tavemam. Imam mahimanam iti. So there he's just giving which vibhakti, or which vibhakti must you take for this mahimanam and so on. Because usually mahiman is a pullinga shabda, and so it should have been tava imam mahimanam iti. Right? So he's saying there is a partha bheda where the idam can also just mean idam ajñātva, idam vishwarupam najñātva. You should take that way, and imam should have been more appropriate if it were to refer to mahimanam. This is just some grammatical syntax is there. Maya pramadat vikshipta chittataya. I made this mistake out of my scattered mindedness. Or pranayena. Pranayaha nama sneha nimittaha visrambhaha. Because I trusted you. I knew you. I thought I knew you so deeply and I connected with you. We were attached. Sneha. We were so close and sticky. We were sticky friends. So I just called out to you in such words. Tena api karanena yat uktavan asmi. So I have used such words to you. So now it is all hitting to him that how could I have used such puny, petty little language to denote a person who has such immense stature? Yacchavahasaarthamasatkritosi viharashayyasanabhojaneshu ekothavaapyachyuta tatsamaksham tatkshamaya tvam aham aprameyam. Yaccha avahasartham asatkritaha yat cha yat cha avahasartham asatkritaha asi avahasartham asatkritaha asi vihara shayya asana bhojaneshu ekaha athava api achyuta tat samaksham tat kshamaye tvam aham aprameyam. Tvam aprameyam kshamaye. I ask forgiveness of you who are the aprameya, who is the immeasurable. Aprameya tat kshamaye. I ask forgiveness for all this that I have done to you. Not just did I call out to you in rude or impolite manners, but also avahasartham asatkritaha. I belittled you for the sake of fun. I pointed jokes at you. I poked fun at you. I for just laughs, just as friends razz each other up. So he did that. Vihara shayya asana bhojaneshu. In matters of lunch, dinner, or by partaking meals together, or while just sitting and relaxing, or while sleeping, shayya, and in vihara, in any other leisurely place, I have done all of this. Ekaha athava api achyuta tat samaksham. Ekaha athava, not just once, but so many more times I have done this. Not just once or one time, but so many more times. Tat samaksham kshamaye. In front of you, I have done all these petty little things. And not just this once, but please pardon me for all those misgivings. Yaccha avahasartham parihasa prayojanaya, just to make some fun and gags, to get some gags out. Asatkritaha paribhutaha asi bhavasi. Where did I do all this? While doing viharana, pada vyayama, shayanam, asanam, bhojanam, adanam ityadishu एतेषु विहारशय्यासन भोजनेषु परोक्षः सन् असत्कृतः असि परिभूतः अथवा पिहे अच्युत तत्समक्षं तच्छब्दः क्रियाविशेषणार्थः प्रत्यक्षं वा असत्कृतः असि तत्सर्वम् अपराधजातं क्षमां कारये प्रमाण अतीतं त्वाम् अहं Kshamam karaye. I implore you to, I request you to forgive me for all of that. Samaksham here, he takes the mean to be pratyaksham, whereas ekaha means paroksham. So whether I have done it out of in front of you or behind your back, all of that, let it all be pardoned. Pretty straightforward. So the idea here is it shows how very casual things that we would do with a friend now no longer holds true, it no longer is appropriate because it is Bhagavan himself that we are conversing with. पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान् न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यधिकः कुतोऽन्यः लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव त्वं पिता असि लोकस्य चराचरस्य पिता असि त्वम् अस्य चराचरस्य लोकस्य पूज्यः च गुरुः च गरीयान् च न न त्वत्समः अस्ति अभ्यधिकः अपि कुतः अन्यः लोकत्रये अपि अप्रतिम प्रभाव. हे अप्रतिम प्रभाव, you who have immense influence, prabhava, apratima, unparalleled influence over every single thing. You who are the Pita, you are the father of the entire Charachara Jagat, the Loka itself, that which can move and which does not move. Meaning, insentient and both sentient things are born from you. Asya Pujyaha, and therefore you become also the Pujya. Not only did you just give birth and be a bad parent to it, but you were also a very good parent to it by being its Guru, just as our mothers and fathers are our first Gurus. And they are also Pujya for the reason they look after the child with utmost care. They sacrifice their own ambitions and they're always in the ambit. Their entire lives are in the ambit of the child from that point on. Similarly, God is always caring for the Jagat that it or he or she has created. And it's always in the orbit, looking after this Jagat and seeing what best it can do to this Jagat. It is also guiding it. Guruhu Gariyan. But just as the parent is always bigger, greater, and more mature than the child, so is Ishvara bigger, better, and wiser than the Jagat. Gariyan Natu Natvatsamaha. There is no one equal to you. Forget about anyone being Adhika to you. There is no one even who can match your prowess uh, as Bhagavan, as Ishvara, because there can be nothing better than Ishvara. By definition, Ishvara is said to be the best, the superior, supreme, most superior of everything, right? So, and because Ishvara is Ananta, it makes it the unique entity. Well, see, now you should not confuse, I would say, to mean Vishnu alone is Ishvara. We are talking about Ishvara itself, the tattva of Ishvara itself, not whether Vishnu is Ishvara or Rudra is Ishvara or Indra is Ishvara and so on. All these are very petty quarrels in my view. What is talked about here is the tattva of Ishvara itself, the, the immensity of there being an intelligence beyond this universe, the creator of this universe, the creator, God, intelligence, life force, designer, whatever one may call it. If there were ever to be a karta to this kriya of Jagat, then what would it be, right? So it would be the best, the brightest, the most intelligent, whatever humanly attributes one can think of, it would excel at it. Hence, and because it is also infinite, there cannot be a second karta or a competitor to this karta, making him or it or her the only Ishvara possible. Do you understand what I'm saying? There cannot be two Ishwaras to the world because one will preclude the other by definition of infinity of infinitude as well as of strength. So there can be no one equal, and forget about there being anyaha, anyone else who is bigger, better, or brighter than you. In all of the three words, lokatraye api apratima prabhava. Do you all understand this? A very pretty straightforward logic that an infinite God can only be one. That is the theorem, you could say. Okay. Pita asi, janayita asi, you are the creator. Lokasya pranijatasya, of all this living creature, this biosphere itself, which comprises both animate and inanimate things, moving and non-moving things, right? And sthavara jangamasya, न केवलं त्वमस्य जगतः पिता किन्तु पूजार्हः अपि, because you are gurutara. You are heavier, as in more mature than this, and also therefore you are pujarha. So you are worthy of worship of ours. Kasmat gurutaraha. Vaya, how is God or this intelligence uh, more mature? To natvat samaha, because there can be no other intelligence equal to you. Nahi Ishwara Dvayam Sambhavati, because there cannot be two Ishwaras. Anekeshwaratve Vyavahara Anupapatte, because we run into a fallacy or a problem, a flaw. Anupapatti means a flaw of Vyavahara. How will two Ishwaras function? Right? How can there be two bosses for just one subordinate? Or even if there are 10 subordinates, how can there be two bosses? There should be a linear chain of command, right? Otherwise there would be conflict. And so, त्वत्सम एव तावदन्यः न सम्भवति. कुतः एव स्यात् लोकत्रयेऽपि सर्वस्मिन् अन्यः स सम्भवति. So if there cannot be someone equal to you, there is also no one bigger than you. सर्वस्मिन् अप्रतिमप्रभा प्रतिमीयते यया सा प्रतिमा. न विद्यते प्रतिमा यस्य तव प्रभावस्य सः त्वम् अप्रतिमप्रभावः. निरतिशय प्रभाव इत्यर्थः. So he's just breaking down the samasa. So ultimately the idea is you have unending, excellent, the best of all influences. Continuing. तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायं प्रसादये त्वामहमीशमीड्यं पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम्. Tasmat pranamya. So therefore we shall bow before you. I shall bow before you, putting my body down, laying my body down. Pranidhaya kayam prasadaye tvam aham isham idyam. Aham tvam isham. So now who are you? Who is being described here? The sagunatva, which is the saguna sakaratva of that principle, which is in front of him, is the Isha, which is the Idya also. The Idya means worthy of worship. Aham prasadaye. I beg of you to be pleased with me. I implore you to be happy with me and be shanta with me. Just as pite iva putrasya sakhyuh sakha iva priyaya priyaha iva deva mam sodhum arhasi. Please pardon my sins and bear my misgivings and transgressions. Bear with it. Sodham means please bear with it. Just as a pita does with a putra, just as the father would pardon their son or daughter, a sakhya, a sakha, a friend, would similarly pardon and embrace the friend. Or how a lover, for the sake of the another lover, priyaya. So a partner for another partner's sake They would embrace, cuddle up, and make up. So that is how you also, I also want to be forgiven and embraced and accepted by you, O Deva. Are you all following? Do you have any questions at this point? Okay. Tasmat pranamya namaskritya pranidhaya prakarshena nichaih dhritva kayam shariram. So he brings his head, body, all the eight organs, the Sashtanga pranama he's doing by this pranidhana. Prasadam karaye ishitaram tvam, you who is the Lord, lording over and governing all of this. Stutyam, you who are also worthy of praise. You are not only governing as a very arrogant boss, but you are also doing it in such a benevolent manner that you are actually worthy of praise, right? So you are not being an authoritarian or a totalitarian, though you are a boss. So you are a benevolent Lord. Tvam punaha putrasya aparadham pita yatha kshamate sarvam sakha iva sakhyu aparadham yatha va priyaha priyayaha aparadham kshamate तथा एव अत्र मां सोढुम् अर्हसि प्रसहितुं क्षन्तुम् इत्यर्थः. So this has been explained again. अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपं प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास. अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितः अस्मि दृष्ट्वा यत् अदृष्टपूर्वं तद् दृष्ट्वा हृषितः अस्मि. I have seen that which has never been seen before by me, earlier by me. Hence, I am now Hrishitaha. I am transfixed. I am transfixed. Hrishita, it means I'm transfixed. You can find my hairs on end. Bhayena cha pravyathitam manome. At the same time, my manas, a part of my manas, though it is awestruck, the other part is actually terrified because there is a very fine line between awe, wonder, and fear, right? It's a very fine line. That is why we feel both scared as well as bewildered when we walk into a forest. We may stand at the cliff, or when we are immersed in an ocean. Forget immersed. Even if we are just standing at the shore of an ocean, we find the same thing to be both terrifying and awesome. Pravyathitam, and my mind is struck heavily with bhaya. Tadeva me darshaya. Because the intensity of awe is also so great. Similarly, will the intensity of fear be? Tadeva me darshaya deva rupam. Now, I have enough of all of this. I am happy. I am satisfied to have seen and for having asked. I am actually regretting my own decision for having asked you this question of who you are and to show me what you truly are. Now I'm going back and I just want you to show back your own Deva Rupam. Tadeva Darshaya Deva Rupam. Show me back that calming form. Prasida, be pleased, be happy, be content with me. Deva, Devesha, O Lord of all Devatas, Jagannivasa, you who occupy this world. न कदाचिदपि दृष्टपूर्वमिदं विश्वरूपं तव मया अन्यैर्वा. Not only have I not seen this earlier, but also anybody else has not seen this earlier. तदहं दृष्ट्वा भयेन व्यथितं मम मनः अतः मम यत् मत्सखं देवरूपं जगतः निवास, हे जगन्निवास, दर्शय. Show me that friendly form of yours. किरीटिनङ्गदिनं चक्रहस्तम् इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते. I want to look at that form of yours, which I'm very familiar with, which has the kirita, the shining kirita, the gada that you hold, kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam. I have come to know that you have a tattva of Vishnu in you, and so I want to look at that form which has chakra, gada, padma, and shankha and all that. Drashtumaham tatha eva ichchami. I want to look at you in that form itself, where you hold the discus and the gada, which are your favorite ayudhas. Tena eva rupena chaturbhujena. You having those four arms, that is the familiar form which is pleasing to me. The Devatva Sahasra Baho Chaturbhujo Bhava. Become just with four arms, though you are actually having 1,000, as in eternally many number of arms and legs and limbs. And now what does that signify? Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad. And all these mantras also signify that this Devata, this Ishvara has so many arms and legs and heads and all that. So Swami Chinmayananda gives a beautiful interpretation of this. It's not that it is some kind of a very weird alien which has octopi-like tentacles and all that. But the Vishwamurti is the key to understanding what it means. You are the form of the Vishwa, and in the Vishwa, there are countless creatures having so many different limbs, so many different, forget living organisms. There are so many different objects itself which have different modes of locomotion. Those uh, photons travel in different way, electromagnetism travels something else, and so on. So there are so many very different modes of locomotion, and you embody all of that. So that is the meaning of Sahasra Bahu and Sahasra Pada. Pada is the organ of locomotion, whereas Bahu or Hasta is the organ for action, right? So which is the being which embodies the entire cosmos itself, which is a sum total of everything, creatures and creation. Therefore, because you are the sum total of all of this, you are also possessing all the legs and arms of the universe. Now, I have seen such an abstract, mind-boggling form. Now I want to see you in the pleasant four-armed form that I am very familiar. Kiritavantam tatha gadavantam tvam prarthaye purvavaddrashtum yataha aham tasmat Vasudeva Putra Rupena. You who are the son of this Vasudeva in the human form, Vartamanikena Vishwarupena Upasamhritya Vishwarupam Tena eva Rupena Bhava Ityarthaha Arjunam Bhitam Upalabhya Upasamhritya Vishwarupam Priya Vachanena Ashwasayan Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So now listening to his Sakha make a very earnest prarthana to stop this Vishwarupatva and show a very calm presence, he does that. And he says, Bhagavan speaks, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Prasannena Tavarjunedam Rupam Parandarshitam Atma Yogat Tejomayam Vishwamanantamadyam Yanme Tvadanyena Nadrishtapurvam. Shri Bhagavan says, Maya Prasannena Tava Arjuna Het Arjuna Tava Idam Rupam Yat Atma Yogat Param Darshitam Maya Prasannena Tejomayam Vishwam Anantam Adyam Yat Tvad Anyena Na Drishtapurvam Tat, and he continues, So I have shown to you, Tava Arjuna, because I was pleased with you out of my own happiness and pleasure for you. I have shown you with my own Atma Yoga by joining myself to the Atma. This is a very important um, keyword because you see, Krishna moves between three planes of consciousness. He's such an established yogi, like Narada can walk all throughout the 14 lokas. Krishna is such a great yogi that he can at will inhabit the body, the actual body he has taken, and behave like a normal human. At the same time, also connect himself to his identity of being an Ishvara, and at the same time can also connect himself to the abstract Brahman. Of course, this happens lesser number of times in the Bhagavad Gita, and he, as an oracle, can speak. So that's the beauty. Not only can he just connect to all these different identities, but also express them through the body. So he can maintain such a delicate balance of having a little bit of ego in the body to be able to speak and perform and all that, while the rest of it is connected to a different identity, not having fully dissociated. Now, usually the yogis, they say, when they are in samadhi or when they have plunged themselves into different states, the body becomes inert, it becomes dumb and still like a stone. It becomes almost non-functional. The other people around that body must take care of it even. But but Krishna here can beautifully skip and leap between the different states and convey the experience somewhat uh, through the body that he has inhabited. So Atma Yoga, by connecting himself to the Atma, so Atma means himself, that Atman, which expresses as the most Nirguna sense as Brahman, in the Saguna sense as Ishvara, and in this particular body as the Jiva, and as the world around as the Jagat. The same Atman, by connecting to different parts of it, Darshitam, I have shown to you such an identity also because of my own Shakti, Tejo, which is of the form of light, energy, which is the cosmos itself, Anantam, Adyam, which is uh, most venerable, the infinite. So just imagine all the galaxies collapsing and exploding, all the supernovae happening. Such a bright light, if it were to shine, that is the dance of the cosmos that somewhat Arjuna has been able to have a glimpse at. And nobody else has seen this before. I hope all of you are following this poetic beauty here. There's not much philosophy as such here to be explained, it's all to be experienced rather. Prasado nama tvai anugraha buddhi. So I wanted to do some anugraha to you. I wanted to benefit you in some senses. Therefore, I was prasanna with you. And I showed you the Vishwarupa Atmanaha Aishwaryasya Samarthyat. So I have the Samarthya to connect myself to become the Ishvara Tattva, Ishvaratva. So this is called Aishwarya. And I showed it to you. Tejaf Prayam Samastam Anantam Antarahitam Ado Bhava Madhyam Mama Twadanyena Kenachadapi Na Drishtam Atmanaha Mama Rupa Darshanena Kritartha Evatvam Samrittaha iti Stauti. So now he continues that this, how rare is this form? Na veda yajñādhyayanair na danair na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugraihi evam rupa shakyaham nriloke drashtun tvadanyena kuru pravira. Na veda yajñā adhyayanaihi. I am not even evam rupaha shakye drashtum twadanyena kurupravira, O warrior of the Kuru clan, the excellent warrior of the Kuru clan. Tadanyena evam rupa drashtum aham na shakye. I cannot be seen in such a form by anyone except you so far, either through Veda Adhyayana, Yajnadi क्रियाभिः न वा दानेन न क्रियाभिः न तपोभिः उग्रैः. You cannot reach me through tapas, yajna, Veda, Adhyayana, Dana, Kriya, or any such. So there is no causation. You cannot say I will do A, B, C, D, E, F, G and I will get to this state. There is no, my state is because I chose to show it to you. So nobody else in this human world, Nriloke, na tadanyena na drishtam. I have not shown, nobody has seen this because I have not willed to show it to anybody else in such a form, in such specific form to anybody else. चतुर्णामपि वेदानाम् अध्ययनैः यथावत् यज्ञाध्ययनैः च वेदाध्ययनैरेव यज्ञाध्ययनस्य सिद्धत्वात् पृथक् यज्ञाध्ययनग्रहणं यज्ञविज्ञानोपलक्षणार्थम्. So he's just making a small point here by teasing out why he used Veda Yajna Adhyana to mean Vedadhyana, which itself is Yajnadhyana also. Because to know what the Yajnas are telling, you have to do the study of the Vedas. So whether you say it is Vedadhyana or Yajnadhyana, he means it is the same. So he just uses the word Veda Yajnadhyana. Tatha Tula Purushadibhihi, by nobody else who would do lots of dana can I be attained. Na kriyabhihi, agnihotradibihi, shrautadibihi. Even through different kriyas or esoteric techniques such as agnihotra or anything else will I be found. Ugraihi tapobhihi, chandrayanadibhihi, ugrair ghoraihi. And there are some vratas which are very krichra, which are very dangerous, which are very gory, which are also very harmful to both oneself or to others. So such, even if such were to attempt such a tapasya, they would not still be able to be worthy of my sight. Yatha darshitam vishwarupam yasya soham evam rupah na shakyah aham nriloke manushya tattah anyena drashtum. So now, they cannot really see anything what I have shown to you by anything that they can do, even if it is to the best of their abilities. Because ultimately it is I who willed to show it to you. That is the ultimate point. So recently I was just sharing this little shloka, the mantra from the Upanishad. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo na medhaya na bahuna shrutena यमेवैष वृणते तेन लभ्यस्तस्यैष आत्मा विवृणते तनुं स्वाम. The Mundaka Upanishad says, Pravachanena medhayana bahuna shrutena. One cannot reach this Atma by their own self-effort of trying to do a lot of adhyayana, using their intellect, or by doing some seva or pravachana and so on and so forth. Not even by kriya. And the following verse says something very similar. Nayamatma balahinena labhyo nacha pramada tapaso vapya lingat, and so on. So not even by tapas, kriya, karma, and whatever else, this Atma cannot be reached. Because, so then who else will it be known to? Whoever the Atma chooses to reveal itself to, they or it or that being will know it. So there is the idea of necessity and a sufficient condition. This is what I feel. So all this yajna, dana, tapas, puja and the spiritual endeavor is not sufficient. It is necessary. It says, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. So all this puja, karma, jnana, yoga and all this is bhakti, jnana, yoga, all of this is just a necessary condition for the jiva to get bala. Because the Atma will never surely come to reveal itself to a person who is balahina, or one who is deeply stooped in arrogance, pramada, in mistakes, or intoxication of the world. So, to remove and make the jiva eligible for the lottery, you need all of this Veda, Adhyayana, Yajna, Tapas, and so on. But it is not sufficient, is what Bhagavan is driving the point to be. So, what is sufficient is Anugraha. The Atma, whoever it chooses, will get it. But it will never also choose a person not prepared in any of this way. So, out of those people who are prepared, some of them will win the lottery, but definitely not anybody who is not even doing any of this. So, there is a necessity and a sufficient condition. मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावो दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमीदृङ्ममेदम् व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमनाः पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य. So, te vyatha ma, may you not be, may your vyatha, may your fear or your worry be lessened, may it go away. Ma here means let it not be there. Ma vimudha bhavaha, and no more enough of your confusion. Because seeing such a cosmic form instills a deep sense of existential confusion. Just as Vivekananda, when he first was touched by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he went into something so stupendous that his actual thinking, intellectual, rational mind felt itself to be so stupid, because now it has entered into a territory where information is no longer working into the same framework of logic that it has so long built. So there's chaos, there's an orderly chaos. So that is the Vimudha Bhavaha. Drishtva Rupam Ghoram Idrik Mamedam. Mama Idam Idrik Ghoram Rupam Drishtva. Why have you got this fear, worry, and confusion? Because of looking at such an expansive, frightening form. Vyapeta Bhihi. So let me put away your fear. Vyapeta Bhihi. And now, in place of fear, let me install some software of love and calmness back. Pritamanaha punastvam, tvam punaha me rupam idam prapashya. Look at my own dumbed down, or you could say dialed down rupa, the very calm, peaceful, having the feathers and chakra and gada, that nice little form. Because you cannot handle me in my true essence, may you be pleased with the same limited form. Ma bhute bhayam vimudha chittata upalabhya yatha darshitam vigata bhayaha pridamanaha cha san bhuyah chaturbhujam rupam shankachakra gadadharam idam ishtam rupam prapashya. Sanjaya uvacha ityarjunam vasudevastatoktva swakam रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा. इति अर्जुनं वासुदेवः तथा उक्त्वा स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः. भूयः पुनः. Now once again, so now so far Bhagavan is still showing that fearful form, and you can imagine if when he speaks, that deep cosmic echo coming. But now he now has actually turned himself, dialed down into the usual, the Vishnu, the what we are familiar with as Vishnu, that form he has come back to. इति अर्जुनं वासुदेवः उक्त्वा. So as Sanjay is narrating this to Dhritarashtra, he's saying Vasudeva, that is Krishna, has gone back to his default rupa, and he showed that to him. Ashvasayamasa, and then he started consoling Arjuna because he was bhitam. He was afraid, not just afraid of some ghost or some gory entity, but now this fear is the deepest fear, the fear that one is inadequate, right? That one is inadequate. That is the greatest fear that Arjuna is now facing. That one is so limited. That's why you feel the shame, fear, guilt, all of these which are springing from the very source of inadequacy, of feeling limited, of feeling constrained, of feeling so helpless actually. Because there is now before you an entity which is robbing you of all control over your own life. Every single ounce of control has been relinquished, taken away rather forcefully with just a sight. Because so far, all that logic that I am in charge of my life, that I am the driver, I am sitting in the driver's seat is gone, which is actually fear terrifying. It's not just some monster which is going to gobble you up. This is another deeper level of fear. So now it takes Krishna himself to do Santwana, Ashvasana to Arjuna and says, be calm, it's all right. What you have seen uh, is really indeed terrifying, but it's all right. I'm still the same little friend that you knew. Soumya Vapuhu. I am now taking the form of a much more pleasant, uh, palatable, seeable, amicable Saumya Rupa. In fact, it is told that Vishnu represents the tattva of Mercury in according to astrology. Buddha Graha is very closely linked to Vishnu. So, and incidentally, Buddha is also called as Saumya, and he is the Lord who bestows Saumyatva. While Venus, that is Shukra, gives you Saundarya, the Saumyatva comes from Buddha. See, one can be really beautiful, handsome, and pretty, but they may not be really Saumya because you'll feel so intimidated by their very presence. But Saumya is, one may be a little ugly or bad looking, but their mannerism, their vibes is that of Saumya, is of serenity, of somewhat young, childlike innocence and calmness. So that is Saumya, which comes from the Buddha Graha, again closely tied to Vishnu. Saumya Vapuhu Mahatma. Now let's look at the Shankaracharya's commentary. Nothing different, he says. Evam tatha bhutam vachanam vasudevasya grihe jatam vasudevah darshitavan punah ashvasitavan prasanna deha san. Okay. Next. So let's hear our hero Arjuna say something after all this. Arjuna uvacha drishtvedam manusham rupam tava saumyam janardana idanimasmi samvrittah sachetah prakritim gatah. So now, after all the consoling and ashvasan of Vishnu, of Krishna, here he says, Idam manusham rupam drishtva. Now I am seeing you in your actual mortal physical form, which is now very saumya, which is indeed very pleasant. Hey Janardana, hey Krishna. Idanim asmi samvrittah. Now I am happy. Now I am actually back to my original senses. Sachetah. My mind is back in my own control. And prakritim gataha. I have come back to my nature. So all these three were robbed of him. He was no more samvritta. He was vivritta. His mind was scattered. His chetas, his awareness was not even his. Scattered mind and thoughts. And you could say even organs and sensations. And Prakritim Gataha, his personality, that is the ego. All these three were robbed of him in the last half an hour, right? So all these three have now come back to form the original person called as Arjuna. So he is now back to his original self, whether for good or bad, whatever. We are not judging it, but he is now back to his state and senses. Matsakham prasannam adhuna samriktah sanjatah prasannachittah tvam swabhavam gatah cha asti. So you have gone back to your original habits. Mm. Again, here habits here mean refer to the original functioning of the brain, of the sense of I. You see, after an experience like this, something called as an ego death would have happened, right? Which is very common in spiritual experiences as well as with hallucinogens and psychedelic experiences or some very extreme pain, dissociative events as well. So, where the very structure of the ego is broken, and it takes very long before the anesthesia runs off and everything comes back and feels normal again, right? Similarly, with this even experience, his mind was shattered. All the usual mechanisms of holding the ego in its place were wiped off. So now they are slowly coming back. He's recovering from the coma. श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः सुदुर्दर्शम् इदं रूपं दृष्टवान् यत् मम असि तत् देवा अपि अस्य रूपस्य दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः सन्ति. So, yat mama rupam drishtavanasi, the rupa that you have seen of mine, that is very rare. Su durdarsham, very durdarsham. Dur means difficult to find, very difficult to darsham, to see. So very difficult to see this rupa of mine that which you have seen. Actually, it is not that you have seen it. You have done nothing. It is only I who chose to show it to you. I gave you the Divya Jakshu. I put the thought in you to ask me of this. I gave you the eyes. I gave you the darshana. And now I have given you back your sanity. And Deva api asya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. Even the devas, so one meaning here is the actual cosmic other entities, the smaller, lesser entities, which are given the portfolio of running this universe. They are also eagerly waiting to have a darshana of such a form, of such a specific form of Ishwaratva. The other meaning in the microcosm is that even the organs, the sense organs cannot have such a darshana that you, the buddhi, Arjuna here represents the sattva buddhi because Arjuna literally means a white person. Sattva also is usually referred to the purity and holiness. Again, here white does not mean by race. White as in the personality. Sattva buddhi, which was able to see me, the sense organs cannot actually see it. They are eagerly waiting day in and day out. Nityam. The sense organs are looking for me, but in all the wrong places. They're looking at it, looking for the same joy of my darshana, of my form, but sadly, because they are extroverted, they're all looking elsewhere. Paroksha priya ivahi devaha. Naham vedairna tapasa nadanena na chejyaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drishtavanasi mam yatha. Na aham vedaihi. Now he's again repeating. न अहम वेदैः न तपसा न दानेन न च इज्यया शक्यः एवं विधो द्रष्टुम दृष्टवानसि माम यथा. As iterated before, he cannot be seen. I cannot be seen either through the Vedas, tapas, dana, or ijya. Ijya means yajna. evam vidha drashtum yatha mam drishtavan. Because I chose to show it to you in a very particular way, in a very particular form and timing and tattva. What you have seen, it's very unique to you. It's very uh, beautiful and something which you should consider to be sacred, which you should hold as the best treasure of one of your best treasures of this life. Because not even through tapas, Veda, of any self effort from your side, as long as the ego functions, can never be had here at all. Okay, I think we did not read the Shankaracharya's Bhashya. ऋग् यजुः साम अथर्ववेदैः चतुर्भिरपि उग्रेण चान्द्रायणादिना तपसा गो भू हिरण्यादि दानेन वा यज्ञेन पूजया वा यथादर्शितप्रकारः त्वं यथा मां दृष्टवान् तथा न द्रष्टुं शक्नोति इतरः भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यो अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप. But he puts a clause. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakyah. But with bhakti, bhaktya tu ananyaya shakyah. But with unswerving, focused, completely fidel bhakti. Bhakti here means just love, determination, attachment, or being committed to one thing and one thing alone at the cost of even oneself. Imagine that. Not only is this fidel in mere sense of just going to one god or one religion or one idea, but at the being committed to such an idea, entity, divinity, or whatever, at a cost of even oneself, that one should not even take care of themselves. If such is the idea of bhakti, then perhaps I am available to you. Aham evam vidha Arjuna shakyah. I am possible. It's not that I will definitely come to you even if you have bhakti. It's possible that I may be, such a form may be available to you. Jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha shakyah. Again, there is a possibility which is open for you to know me, see me in my actual tattva. Because what you're seeing me right now with this chaturbhuja or with these feathers and ornaments, all this is not the true tattva. Because my tattva is avyaktam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam ajananto mamavayam anuttamam. He has told this earlier in one of the chapters, I think the fifth, where the actual rupa of his is avyakta. The tattva is avyakta, and to know it, to see the tattva, to understand it, is possible only through committed, focused, fidel love towards this idea. Praveshtum cha parantapai. And only then can you actually have a possibility, an opportunity to enter into such a tattva. So you need a ticket, right, to enter into the dance, the ball. What is that ticket? There is a stag entry allowed, but in fact, there's only a stag entry allowed. You cannot come in with another person, but the fee, the ticket that you must show at the counter is of having demonstrated such ananya bhakti that one would not even care for themselves. Kim vishishtaya ityaha अपृथग्भूतया भगवतः अन्यत्र पृथग् न कदाचिदपि या भवति सा तुदन्या भक्तिः सो अनन्या भक्तिः सर्वैरपि करणैः वासुदेववादन्वात् अन्यत् न उपलभ्यते यया सा अनन्या भक्तिः. So that which even the indriyas cannot think of anything else but Vasudeva, of that Paramatma, where the indriyas are so steeped in bhakti, the love, that they're almost hallucinating and seeing only the same Bhagavan everywhere. I mean, whether to call it hallucination or actual reality is beyond me, but they have demonstrated such vairagya towards themselves and others and for every other thing. They're focused on only one. Taya bhaktya aham shakyah evam vitaha. This rupa of mine is available to them Not that they will definitely get an entry into it. Shastratah, na kevalam jnatum shastratah, kintu sakshat kartum, to understand and also to experience by their own selves. Moksham cha gantum, adhuna sarvasya Gita shastrasya sarabhutah arthah, nishreyasarthah anushthayatvena, samut, uh, samuchit, samuchyate atra, samuchitya atra uchyate. What is the final shloka, which is a summary of all this chapter itself, is that mat karma krin mat paramo mat bhakta sanga varjitah nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yas samameti pandava. Mat karma krit. So now what is this definition of ananya bhakti? How is this Ananya Bhakti to be achieved? Again, one must get out of this paradigm of I can achieve ABC, I can do ABCD. That is when we actually stumble ourselves perhaps into bhakti. It's a very paradoxical thing. But still, he gives some vague pointers. He says, Matkarma krit. So if you still have the idea of I, the doer, and I want to do ABC, then Matkarma krit. Do all your actions towards me. Mat karma krit. So you start doing all your actions towards me. Mat paramaha. Think of me to be your goal. So fix your goal, which is me. Do every action possible towards me. Mad bhaktaha. Let all your love, emotions, and joy come from me. Sangavarjitaha. And cut yourself off of any other idea, goal, person, not even of yourself. Sangavarjitaha nirvairaha sarvabhuteshu. But. All of this may seem very cultish, right? So you will start, you may have a question that is this Krishna who is prophesizing all of this to make himself a cult leader, right? So it would have been had he stopped it there. But because if you were to be a follower of a cult, you will obviously become enemies to a figure or an organization which is in contrast to yours, right? That is when you actually know it is a cult, because these cults, though all these things seem to be very common, also have something very different, which is that they all become arms. They all become fighting weapons in the hands of the cult leader, and they lose their sense of morality and such, and they have no more a sense of what is right, wrong, discretion, all of that is given up. And they still retain their own ego, which will express itself out when their philosophy, their organization, their values are questioned by someone outside, either another cult or just the general public outside, right? We have seen this enough number of times in today's world. Therefore, he puts the condition that such a person still should be so delicate and intelligent to not have vaira, to not harbor any enmity towards anybody. Sarva bhuteshu, not just any human, but also every single creature and non-creatures as well. Nirvairaha. So that must be the depth of compassion, anukampa in them that they have, even to people who have hurt them, even to things which are neutral to them, they should show empathy. Sahamam eti Pandava. Only such a creature will be eligible to come to me. Mam eti, they will get me. So this is the characteristic traits of Ananya Bhakti. Bhakti which is qualified to be Ananya. Not just Bhakti while as in singing, dancing and doing worship, but Ananya Bhakti where every single action, every single thought, every single emotion is all directed towards one thing alone, at the cost of even themselves and everything around them. Yet, to retain the sense of empathy and compassion towards all being, to be wise enough to retain that one single trait in them or to nurture such a trait in them. Let's look at the commentary. Madartham karma yatkritam tadeva matkarma tat karoti iti matkarma krit karoti bhrityah swami karma natu atmanah parama pretya गन्तव्या गतिरिति स्वामिनं प्रतिपद्यते अयं तु मत्कर्मकृत् मामेव परमां गतिं प्रतिपद्यते इति मत्परमः अहं हि परमः परमा गतिः यस्य सोऽयं मत्परमः. So he's saying matkarmakrit. Okay, you may think of me to be the master and you to be the slave or the servant who is doing whatever I have told you to do. But that is not really enough, because then you will not think of me as being Parama. You will just think I am playing a role of a master, the Ishvara, and you as a servant. But that is then, therefore, such a paradigm is negated by the use of the word Mat Paramaha. Because you will never be able to serve me fully if you keep thinking of yourself to be the servant, Dasa, to me, the master. You should think of me to be the Parama, to be the actual greatness which you are seeking, which means there is a personal investment to it. Not only that are you forced to do things that I am telling you, but you actually want to do the things that I'm telling you because I am you, because I am the greatest dream that you want to become, right? Paramaha madbhaktaha mameva sarva prakaraihi sarvatmana sarva utsahena bhajate madbhaktaha, which is why, and not only must you think of me to be the dream that you want to achieve, but you should be so energetic that you actually want to strive for it, right? So, mameva sarva prakaraihi sarvatmana sarva bhavena sarva utsahena bhajate. And then Sangavarjitaha Dhana Putra Mitra Kalatra Bandhuvargeshu Sangavarjitaha. Sangha ityukte atra not just cut off yourself, but mentally cut off, mentally check out of having the sense of deriving joy out of any of these people or of these things and ideas. That I may get some joy from my job, from some money, some properties, or having family around, or having friends and relatives and spouse, etc., or having sex and or having uh, fame and so on. So all these usual ideas that we pursue in our lives because we think we get joy out of them is called the sangha. The idea of getting joy out of them is called the sangha. So sangha varjita, give up those ideas. Not that you should physically cut off yourself and isolate. That would have been very cultish, right? Uh, but just give up the idea. But doesn't mean that you behave with them inappropriately or in a very apathetic manner, but you should be nirvairaha. You should have nurse no enmity to any of these people also. Not only must you be neutral, but also be actively non-negative to them. And sarvabhuteshu shatrubhavarahitah atmanah atyanta apakara pravritteshu api. So when do you actually test if you have enough compassion, when you can actually think of these people who have hurt you, is what he's telling. So let us all think of ourselves in our own lives who have hurt us the most, who have deceived us, who have cheated, who have tortured us, who have put all the burden on us, who has exploited us, who have uh, hurt us, who have maimed our fame, our reputation, or who have used us, who have misled us, all the negative things, who have enraged us and so on, who have blackmailed us, who have uh, all the different bad things that can be done to us, that can be wronged. Think of all of them, he says, and yet if you can have that at least 1% streak of compassion, of understanding towards them, then you will be eligible towards me. Why? Because ultimately all that sloka that we have seen so far is telling what one thing? It is telling about the sarva vyapitva, that everything is God, right? So which means obviously people, the obvious question is then, is all those people who have hurt us also God? So if you deny and refuse to believe and say, no, these people who have hurt us are not God, then it means you have not really understood the true magnanimity of Bhagavan and the magnificence of Bhagavan for his or her or its different mysterious ways through which it has helped the jiva get some jnana. Because even those, I mean, it's very easy for me to say, I'm just telling what Shankaracharya here is trying to signify. But yeah, I also understand it is so difficult, and I myself am dealing with this very idea of how to diminish the vaira in us towards people who have wronged us. Yet he says, if you still can manage to do that, then you are eligible to come towards me. ईदृशः मद्भक्तः अहमेव तस्य परागतिः न अन्या गतिः काचित् भवति अयं तव उपदेशः इष्टः मया उपदिष्टः हे पांडव इति उच्यते. So, Pandava, hey Arjuna, because you are Ishta to me, I have told you all of this. So here ends the 11th chapter. इति श्रीमत् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यस्य श्री गोविंद भगवत पूज्यपाद शिष्यस्य श्रीमत् शंकर भगवतः कृतौ श्रीमद् भगवद गीता भाष्ये एकादशोऽध्यायः. Any questions? It's been a thunderstorm and rain here with this monologue, but I hope I was able to do some justice to the emotions and ideas which have been conveyed through this. Let me pause for 2 seconds. Any questions? अस्तु तर्हि अन्यस्यां कक्षायां मिलामः. नमो नमस्ते.